Hey, I'm Josh Hollingsworth on Team Bluffside Birdie from Saraland, Alabama, near Mobile. My PDGA number is 83281. And one thing I'm known for in disc golf is I throw a lot of tomahawks and overhands. It's how I learned the game. I played baseball for a long time, played through college, played 3 years of college ball, started my 4th year, got hurt, redshirted, came back, played again, and got hurt again. So the doctor actually recommended that I play tennis or something similar to tennis to keep my elbow loose and rehab, as I didn't have Tommy John surgery. I have a 40% torn UCL still in my elbow. And I said, that's not my style. How about disc golf? Because I had played it in the past and I loved it. And he said, sure, as long as you're using that throwing motion, that would be fine. So I picked it up and have played it ever since. And if I don't play disc golf long enough or in a period of time, my elbow actually gets stiff. So disc golf helps my elbow out a lot. With that being said, I do stretch a lot for disc golf, and I'll show you all that in just a minute. I learned to play disc golf with the tomahawk, then I learned a forehand, and then I learned a backhand, which I feel is backwards for most people. I prefer not to throw backhands. I throw tomahawks as much as I can. I throw thumbers some, but mostly forehands. And for all of you who are saying, what is a tomahawk shot? So a tomahawk shot is an over-the-top shot. Generally, they move to the right, and then they pan back, they pan right, and then they fade out left. So you can get them straight, you can get it over a object, you can punch it low and have it skip. There's so many things you can do with a tomahawk. A lot of people just use them to get out of danger, and I understand that because that motion can hurt yourself. You have to be very careful with what you're doing there. I got clocked a couple years ago. I think it's really cool when Central Coast does the miles per hour on their videos. I actually got clocked with a disc throwing 96 miles an hour a few years ago, which is harder than I threw a baseball off the mound. I only clocked out at 94 on the mound with a baseball. So I love throwing this shot, and hopefully I can teach y'all how to throw it today. We'll talk about stretching, which is very, very important for disc golf in general, but especially for tomahawks, because you're putting a lot of strain on your shoulder and your elbow. This is actually an unnatural motion. If you think about baseball or softball, if you know anything about those, softball pitchers can pitch it day in and day out because they're coming underneath, and that is not stress on the elbow, which is coming from your shoulder. All this is connected in here. So we especially have to make sure that we're stretched out. I do bands before every single round. I get out and do some internal bands, some external bands that go over the top, under, warm up my shoulder. I also do some other stretches, like I stretch my my forearm out both ways. I stretch my tricep over my head, reach across, may grab something and kind of stretch my shoulder out. Stretch internal rotation is very important, especially if you have a friend. You can really stretch that out. And this one is a weird one, but it helps out your UCL a lot. I call it the pirate stretch because it looks like you're looking through an eyeglass. So you take a circle, roll it upside down, fingers on your chin, and stretch. And you'll feel that electrical impulse coming down your arm, but that is a stretch that I use a good bit as far as overhands are concerned. And then we'll talk about the grip a little bit. So you can grip it a couple different ways like you can a forehand, but I say forehand because it is the same grip as a forehand for me. So forehand, I have a stacked grip here, 2 fingers. I also do the same with a tomahawk. So I have my thumb on this side just above the rim. I have a 2-fingered stack grip on the bottom. And then for a thumber, which is the opposite of a tomahawk, pans left, fades back right. It just feels a little bit weird to me because this grip that is for forehand and tomahawks is a 2-seam fastball grip for me. So that's what I pitched with whenever I threw. I was a closer at the end of my college career. I threw really low arm slot, had a lot of run on my fastball, and then I threw sliders, but this is a 2-seam fastball to me. So snap it out front, make sure I get my fingers out. And then a thumber is take the disc, flip it, you hook your thumb in the rim, and you have your 2 fingers on this side just above the actual flight plate. So yeah, that's those 2 grips there. So for me, tomahawk is my shot of choice. That's weird for most people. They prefer to throw backhand or some forehand. I know I'm in the minority, and that's okay. I like being the tomahawk guy. So you can get over objects with a tomahawk. If there's like a really low tops of the trees or whatnot, I might cut a corner or something. If it finishes straight, maybe a little left, maybe a little right, I will go up and over something. I do that quite a bit. In the woods, I will also throw a low tomahawk, which I just release it at a lower angle. Instead of up, I just come down and kind of throw it more off my nose in the woods. So with those, I can throw them hard and actually have them land on the flight plate and skip hard left, which is a backhand substitute, and that's what I use it for in the woods back in Alabama. Also in like open shots, I prefer to throw tomahawks because I feel the most comfortable with them. I feel like 420 feet and in, I'm putting the disc on a dime. It's going to be in a 15-foot circle from where I wanted to land it. Now with the wind, if you have a left to right wind or a right to left wind, it will take the disc and push it whichever way because you're exposing the flight plate to that wind the whole time. So you have to learn how to play it with the wind. Tailwind, it's going to push it a little bit farther and maybe carry it a little longer. Headwind, it turns the disc up quicker and it will not go as far for two reasons, because the headwind is pushing it that way and it turns the disc quicker, so the disc gets to the ground. In the air, throw the tomahawk. If I want it to turn quicker, I go more towards 9 o'clock. I'm actually looking this way with opposite of y'all actually, but I take the disc and have it flatter. If I go farther up towards 12 o'clock, the disc will pan longer and will go farther. So I play it kind of on a 9 to 12 o'clock range on a clock. And that's pretty much what I do there. Thumber, almost the exact same thing to the opposite side, so 12 to 3. Anything 400 and I would say 60 feet and in, if I don't have objects in the way, I'm throwing a tomahawk. Depending on the distance, I might throw a different disc. I go shorter shots, I go quicker turn. Longer shots, I go up towards 12 o'clock. Talk about disc selection on a tomahawk. A lot of people just have one tomahawk disc, that's what they throw. That's fine if you're using it for utility. If you're using it for a shot though, it's better to understand kind of what you're doing. The slower the disc, obviously it's not going to go as far as a faster disc. The more unstable the disc, the quicker it turns. So it won't go as far as well. So I have a Leopard 3 here. That style disc is a really good disc for a beginner trying to learn a tomahawk or thumber because it's more controllable. I would say like the 7-speed range disc that's understable, maybe a Hatchet by Westside disc I've seen is a really good overhand disc for people with lower arm speeds, because the lower your arm speed, the more understable you want to throw, because the higher speeds and the higher stabilities are harder to throw. So this disc will come out and give me a quick turn and then get to the ground. I don't throw it very often. My old trusty Firebird is pretty straight. If I was to throw it forehand, it would probably flip over on me a little bit or walk straight. So I know that I'm going to throw it 375 and in. It's going to fade right and then it's going to finish back center if there's no wind and if I throw it correctly. And then the ground play on a tomahawk, a lot of people say that it is unpredictable. I agree to a certain point. If you're good enough with a tomahawk, you should be able to land it on the angle that you want to land it on. So a lot of times I will throw and land it here, and then if the ground is hard enough, it will cut roll back about 10 feet. So I try to play that in. On low shots, like I said earlier, I throw it and get it on its flight plate, and it will either slide if I get it panning down this way, or excuse me, if I get it panning this way, it will flare. If I get it on edge, then I can get it to slide forward, if that makes sense. And then as you go up in stability, it will pan longer to the right. It's harder to get back to straight, but it'll pan farther to the right. And as you go up in speed, it'll pan farther to the right and go farther. So in summary, less stable turns quicker, goes left farther. Faster or more overstable goes right farther. So we'll do a couple shots here and I'll kind of talk about my run up and what I'm thinking about as I'm going to throw my shot. So I'm going to throw a Leopard 3. This one's pretty flippy and beat in. Should get up in the air and have kind of a quick turn. It'll be over 300 feet, but I'm not exactly sure how far these go. I don't throw these as much because they're a quick turner. I prefer to throw my Firebirds. But I don't need a whole lot of room for my Tomahawks. That's also a good thing. I can throw flat-footed and just make sure that I get my power into it. A big thing with Tomahawks and why mine, I feel like fly farther than others because I played baseball, and a good thing about that is I have a lot of whip, so I can whip my disc back, either overhand or forehand. I have a lot of flexibility there, so it has the opportunity to pick up speed and go. So I really need 2 steps for a tomahawk. I crow hop and then I throw. I take the disc back, point it away from me, come in, get my whip, and then if I'm trying to get max distance, I release it off my nose. In my head, it's off my nose, but over my head, and I'll play with my ankles, and if I wanted to quick flip, I'll get it flat. If I want it to go farther, then I'll throw it farther. So I pretty much have 2 of each of my tomahawk discs. I'll throw one kind of flatter and show you all that quick turn, and I'll throw one to try to get max distance ish and show you how it works. So that was more of a quick turner. I'll go with another Leopard 3, which is a flippier disc, 7-speed. I'll throw it more 12 o'clock. This one will not turn as fast as the other one. And that flew about 340-ish feet. I threw it about 80%. So next up we have my Star Firebirds. This is my baby. It is beat up. I like orange because if I'm throwing over a corner or something and I can't see it, this is probably going to stand out whenever I get up on it, so as bright as possible. I throw these anywhere from short little out shots to 375 feet is probably my max distance with it. Throw these for thumbers as well. They turn decently quick, more than you would think a Firebird would because they're so beat in. But I do bag new Star Firebirds when I need them at certain points. So I will throw the newer one first because I want to throw my baby as far as it can go because she deserves to go as far as she wants to go. So I'm going to throw this flatter over my head. Should get out there and it'll go a little bit farther than the Leopard 3s, but I'm going to try to throw them on the same angle. So that's the quick turner. Finish more left off my line. I'm kind of aiming dead ahead out in the distance, so finish more left. This one should come back to straight. I'm going to chunk it. It's harder to get the angle right on the ground when you throw them farther because they are farther away, so more variables when they're in the air. But I'm going to throw this almost at 12 o'clock. It's going to pan for a decent spot, and then it should come back and finish directly straight out in front of me, hopefully 375 feet in front of me. So I turned the disc a little bit in the air, but you saw the flight and how it turned more or panned more in the air than the other one, and actually finished a little bit left, but I would say that's about 360 to 375 feet. So this is my Latitude 64 XXX. It's like a 7-speed. It's very overstable. It'll fly farther to the right. I only brought one from Alabama to Wisconsin with me this weekend, so I'll only throw the one. A good point that I didn't bring up earlier, so Tomahawk flight. I throw it, it pans right, and then it hits to this point, and when this wing is down, that is the end of the Tomahawk flight. If you have speed going forward, the disc will keep pushing forward, but the disc is falling and gravity is working at that point and completely pushing the disc towards the ground. So if you're trying to get max distance, you want to get the belly of the disc flat with the ground for as long as possible on this ride, because when that wing gets down, the disc is coming to the ground. This disc I can throw about 450, 460. I'm going to try to get max distance with it right now. I'm going to throw it at 12 o'clock and hopefully it'll finish a little bit right off of where we are facing right now. You also see when I'm throwing these shots, I don't just quit here. So I'm getting my legs into it. I kind of bend my legs a little bit. What I call a vault, like a pole vault over my knee. I'm bent, and I'm coming over it and making sure that I'm releasing the disc out here, but I'm finishing with my arm forward. I learned in pitching a long time ago. You may have all this whip this way, but your brain is only going to let you throw as far as you can throw the brakes on going forward. So you have to be flexible going this way, and you've got to allow yourself time to slow down from the speed that you built up in the back moving forward. My farthest flying distance drivers Tomahawk are fluid enforcers. Unfortunately, they don't make fluid plastic really anymore with dynamic. If y'all did, that would be really great. I would love it. I would buy it all up. So I have a couple of them. I bought a couple off the overhand legend Matt Dollar a few years ago when he left Latitude 64. So don't really throw it in his memory or anything, but it is cool that his name is on the disc and I throw it. So these will go 460 range, kind of like the XXX. The XXX is kind of a freak disc, honestly. But these will pan right, and then like my Firebird, they fade back straight or maybe a little left. So they will pan longer to get the distance, but they finish straight, whereas the XXX finishes to the right. And then also, if I'm trying to get big distance, I may fall forward because I'm trying to make sure that I get finished moving forward. That's the important thing. I didn't really quick turn that one. I don't really quick turn these that much because I do that with my Firebird. I try to get max distance out of these, so I'll try to get on this one for y'all one time. I would say that's in the 430, 440 range, something like that. I threw that one a little bit low, but I would say it's probably out there. So yeah, that's all the discs that I bag. And then I'll talk to y'all about thumbers in just a second. So like the Tomahawk, you also have a thumber. I don't feel as comfortable with a thumber as I do a Tomahawk. It moves the opposite way of a Tomahawk, and I already have a pretty good forehand, so I use my forehand for shots that move that way. Sometimes I do need it to like get out of danger or to get up and down over something. So like I said earlier, thumber. Hook your thumb on the inside of the disc, and then you play with your angles over here. A lot of times for thumber, since I'm getting out of danger, I go a little bit flatter when I'm throwing it. I feel like it helps me get a little bit more arm speed too, because that's kind of where I threw from when I played baseball. That's my natural arm slot. So you can play around with that too to see where you can get more arm speed. If you go a little bit flatter, if you need to go more over the top, whatever. So it's going to move to the left and then fade back right and hopefully end up straight. I'll throw the first one more flat, and then I'll try to get more distance out of the second one. Personally, me, for a thumber, I can get a thumber maybe 350, just because I don't feel like I'm getting as much snap as the two-finger Tomahawk on the inside. Probably for thumber, I feel safe like 275 to 300. And that one was about 250, 260, maybe a little bit farther. And then I'll throw this one, try to get it a little bit farther. I'll go more towards 12 o'clock. So that one probably went about 320, 330, something like that. I was actually pretty impressed with myself on that thumber because I haven't thrown one in a while. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in today. That's overhands. I love talking about them, so message me if you have any more questions or if you think I can help out. Again, stretching, super important with the Tomahawk. Make sure you stretch and get loose. Throw a couple discs before you start getting out in the field and ripping on them. Otherwise, you're going to be out of disc golf for a while and your arm's going to be hurt. And Tomahawk is very useful. If you can get good with them, they're very accurate. Point and shoot. So anyway, thanks. I'm Josh with Bluffside Birdie. Check us out at bluffsidebirdie.com.